Hello everyone and welcome back to something a little bit different. Today we're taking a look at the FAQ that was posted yesterday. Obviously we'll only be taking a look at some of the most important changes, especially the one that is last is gonna really change the game. So there have been a lot of changes, but we'll go through the ones that I think are worth highlighting. So the first one is a change to consumables. It's only going to be relevant if you're a campaign player, but if you are, you do get consumable items quite frequently. After every battle you roll on the minor items table and you might get consumables there. So far they would always use an action to consume, which made a lot of them very useless, because for example, consuming an item that gives you a bonus to 3 to your movement, but already wasting an action for it that you could have otherwise spent to move at least 3 inches, probably more with most fighters, seems pretty horrible. Now consuming them does not take an action, it's a free action. You get basically on top of your normal actions. Therefore, consuming that item with 3 bonus inch of movement will now allow you to make 2 moves with 3 extra inches, therefore granting you 6 extra inches of movement. A lot more interesting and a lot better. So this just in general makes consumables usable now. Then we have a big change to how enemies are pulled. There's a couple of fighters who have the ability to move enemies. That is, for example, one very common one that you'll all know is the Untamed Beast First Fang, but there's also, for example, the Bray Shaman for the what is called Beast of Chaos. So those fighters can move opponents. It says on the rules that they make a move action like if they were jumping. So they can actually go over other fighters, but this FAQ says that they cannot be pulled out of combat. So therefore, when you have an enemy fighter engaged with you, you cannot pull them away from your fighter, which is big, because in the past sometimes you could prevent the enemy from attacking by pulling them away before they got to take their turn, and therefore they would have to spend a move action before being able to attack again. So quite an interesting one here to have removed that. It's just going to make pulling abilities in general worse, because there's just going to be less instances where you can use them. Then I called this one Slaanesh Doubles. So on the Slaanesh Mortals list, there was a couple of abilities that were triples. Like most of the abilities were triples actually. They changed that now. So Dance of the Wailing Blade, that's what the Shimbarish, I think they are called, get. It's to increase their crit damage. And Slaves to Impulse, which is a bonus move action that the Slaangors get, are both upgraded to a double now instead of a triple. That is a big buff, especially for the Slaangors, because I feel that they will get some very, very serious bonus movement out of this, and getting a free action for 6 inches of movement, which is their movement, on only a double is pretty awesome. So that's going to be a big buff to those guys, and I liked them previously, so this is going to be very important. And then we got a clarification really to Cities of Sigmar, because so far it was not known how you would allocate a city rune mark to an ally. So if I was running any Order of Warband and taking a Cities of Sigmar ally, well, there wasn't really there wasn't really a rule for how I would give him a city's rune mark if he would have a city's rune mark at all or whatever. Now they clearly say yes, you do have to pick one rune mark. Also, they clarified again that you cannot have two fighters with different cities rune marks in one warband. That was pretty clear before because that was written in the rule books, but so if you're playing Cities of Sigmar, you cannot bring an ally from another city. And equally, if you're playing in a campaign where you could bring multiple allies, you cannot bring multiple allies from different cities. They'd all have to hail from the same city. And now this is the really, really big one. This is the change that will really affect Warcry a ton. I just put the question, the answer in here because it's so important. Are fighters visible to themselves? And the answer is no. This is a massive change. A lot of abilities that were previously worded weirdly, or you could say that didn't work as intended, certainly got fixed by this. But a lot of abilities got also worse. I don't know if they were possibly unintentionally broken, or if that's what they were always meant to do, but that wasn't clear before. So in the past we assumed that only if it says other different friendly fighter in your warband who's visible to you, blah blah blah, benefits from this ability. Well, now visible is already enough to exclude the one using it. So what abilities are we talking about here? Well, for example, we have for Gloomspite Gits, we have Backstabbing Mob. So you can add 1 to the attacks and strength characteristic, I think it is, for a Gloomspite Git model if it is within 3 inches of a friendly model. Therefore, within 1 inch of a friendly visible model. Therefore, in the past, you could always use it because he was within 3 inches of himself and visible to himself, as we thought. But actually, he's not visible to himself, and therefore, this now only works if you have another friendly fighter close by, which makes sense, which was certainly how it was intended to work. Similarly, you have Chosen of the King, which requires you to have a leader model nearby. You have Shambling Horde, which is basically the same as Backstabbing Mob, but just for Legions of Nagash, and so on. There's a lot of Chilling Horde is the one that's basically like Backstabbing Mob, but for Nighthaunt. Anyways, it's all along the same lines here, which is that the abilities that require you to have a friend nearby actually work as such now. That is good. What's not good is that a lot of aura abilities that give a 6-inch bubble of something, 3-inch bubble of something, now don't work on the user anymore. But not all of them, because it seems to be rather random when they are affecting everyone and only other people around you. So for example, Grizzly Trophy, which is an ability both Corvus Cabal and Beasts of Chaos get, says clearly visible friendly fighters within 6 inches of you get a bonus attack. Well, that means that your leaders now don't benefit from this ability anymore. The same goes for Van Hel's Dance Macabre for Legions of Nagash. He has to pick friendly fighters that are visible to him. Therefore, you can't pick your own Necromancer anymore when you're using Van Hel's Dance Macabre. Stir of the Black Hunger, which is a quad for the Flesh Eater Chords that increases attacks in 9 inches around you, now doesn't work on the leader anymore. Whereas the normal 6-inch bubble on a triple for all the leaders for Flesh Eater Chords still works. That's one of those things like that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So you can use your normal triple for that buffs movement for Flesh Eater Chords, which is a bubble that works perfectly fine for your leader, but the other bubble that Flesh Eater Chords get on a quad doesn't work for your leader. very weird. It seems kind of random. There's a ton of abilities now that will have this thing. So just do keep in mind it's a thing now. Reread all your abilities. If you use an ability, make sure if it says visible or not in there, because that will affect how the ability works now. So anyways guys, thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.